Welcome to the Sweet Baseball Podcast, where we are now on to the College World Series. We'll go through, recap what happened the past weekend in Super Regionals, and then preview the 8 teams that made it to the College World Series and give a little predictions along the way as well. First, I think just look at some main talking points from the past weekend. I think surprisingly, no teams from last year's College World Series made it to this year for the first time since I believe 1957. So, yeah, we're gonna have a new champion, which is good to see. It's always fun, not having that consistency and always having new teams rise to the top. And this year, just so many upsets all over the place, and it continued through super regional rounds. So when we talk about that, it'll be yeah, exciting to go through those new teams.
Yeah, no repeat teams from last year, and last year we had four SEC teams, four ACC teams. This year we just have three total from those two conferences. SEC has two teams in, both on the same side of the bracket. We've had a lot of SEC versus SEC final matchups recently as well. Only going to have one SEC team at most in the final this year, and yeah, awesome to see some of the mid majors coming in, some of the West Coast schools back in. And so, yeah, it's a really exciting field and feels like there's a lot of good programs and familiar faces in Omaha here. Besides Murray State, definitely a surprise team there, but everyone else feels like, very solid baseball programs in recent history. But a lot of upsets along the way to get here still.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, looking at the schools that did make it, the former Pac 12 having three. So if we want to lump them in as a conference with Arizona, UCLA, and Oregon State, they would be leading. But of course, because they split up, that's not the case. But yeah, really great overall field. Seems like we talked about it last week, parity at an all time high, even though it didn't really seem like that throughout the season, with SEC teams and pretty much ACC teams being a lot of the top 25 teams. But down the stretch, that's not the case here. A lot of upsets, and yeah, it seemed like a year that was going to be the case. Just a lot of upsets all over the place. But before we jump into our recap of Super Regionals and previewing the College World Series, I think just a main thing that happened over the past week was Chris Pollard going to Virginia, was the Duke coach, and day after they lose the Super Regional round to Murray State, he's off to a different spot. So surprising that it happened so quick, but we have seen similar things happen previously with Jim Schlossnagle last year, going from A&M to Texas there after the previous day saying he wasn't leaving. So it is tough to see. It's not a great look, but it's, I mean, at this point, understandable with how quick things turn around, dealing with the transfer portal, getting recruits in, that kind of stuff. But it's not a great look overall, just optics wise.
Yeah, it's not great to, be interviewing for a position and talking to other schools when you're still trying to figure out or finish out a season, still trying to make Omaha in Chris Pollard's case here and doesn't get it done and the next day he's off to a new place. It's definitely yeah, it doesn't look great, doesn't feel great if you're a Duke fan, but like you said, you do have to get a jump on it, especially in the transfer portal era. Really need to get ahead of things and start as soon as you can because you can make moves as soon as possible. People are committing right now in the transfer portal, and you need to get a jump on that. So makes sense logistics wise. Just doesn't feel great from a fan perspective.
Yeah, since the transfer portal opens up before the season ends, it makes everything need an even quicker turnaround. I think everybody would like the portal to open after the season, at least coaching wise, but just doesn't work out consistently across the board with the academic calendar and all that stuff behind the scenes. So makes things difficult. But from a coaching perspective, I think most people would want the portal to be limited to later on in the year and have it be probably a shorter period as well. But that's just not possible at this point. Maybe it gets tightened up, but yeah, right now it's just another cog in the machine that makes coaching decisions go even quicker. But jumping to the super regional rounds, teams that made it, we did our predictions there. Not great overall, going 4-4, both of us. Um, One side of the bracket, just so many upsets with, I mean, at least a few of them. North Carolina, that's a tough one. We both had Oregon State losing to Florida State. Maybe you would call that, just the home team winning and not really an upset, but we thought Florida State had the edge there. Unfortunately, not the case. A little bit more chalk on the other side with UCLA, LSU, and Arkansas all winning there. So both of us getting those right. But yeah, a lot of just little things going wrong overall, going 4-4 each way. But yeah, especially that Murray State and Duke as well seemed like we thought Duke was going to be able to handle them after felt like a very draining regional round for Murray State, but they were just able to continue that momentum. Who needs pitching when you can get 20 hits a game like they have been doing? It seems pretty much game in, game out. But yeah, this Murray State squad, super impressive. But yeah, overall, our predictions, not great. But looking at, I guess, the first game or first matchup that we had on here was Louisville versus Miami. We were split on this. But Louisville was still showed that their pitching was able to continue what they have been doing this postseason. They had one kind of slip up in that second game, but able to lock things back down for the final. So the games that they won, really limiting Miami's offense, and yeah, that's pretty much what they've been doing this whole postseason, which is super impressive considering how inconsistent they were throughout the regular season pitching wise.
Yeah, it's been a real surprise to see. Certainly peaking at the right time. Not something we saw coming, but I mean, at this point, just given the way they're pitching, I feel like it's a team you could see all of a sudden sneak into the final in Omaha. Especially just given Charles Schwab Field there in Omaha, very pitcher friendly for the most part, and so if they're able to keep these things low scoring and just muster enough offense to keep winning these games, yeah, seems like they're just playing well at the right time and playing winning baseball.
Yeah, definitely. And they will be matching up against Oregon State, who came out of their super regional against Florida State, one of the few overall hosts facing off against each other. Really, really impressive stuff from Oregon State to win that series. Looked like they were going to lose the first game and clutched up in the end. Florida State has had struggles in the bullpen for most of the year. But Florida State, if they were able to get that win off the board, I bet they would feel extremely confident. That second game, obviously, having Jamie Arnold pitch that, felt like a pretty certain win there, and that was exactly the case, going 3-1 with that scorecard. But yeah, the final Oregon State got out to an extremely hot start. Florida State was chasing the entire way with typically a pretty far gap to go. Was able to tighten things up at the end, make it a little closer, but for most of the game, it seemed like Oregon State had the control, and the fans knew that and were able to keep the pedal to the metal there, make them continue to score, which they needed in the end because Florida State was able to go on a run there. But yeah, this Oregon State offense did enough, especially that final game. Yeah, and pitching overall, not too bad the first two games. Obviously, had a few runs given up, but had the lead for that final game, was able to shut things down there.
Yeah, if you're Florida State, you just got to find a way to win that first game. You cannot blow a 3-run lead in the bottom of the ninth like that. Just a brutal way to end a game there, and impressive on their part to bounce back in game two. Obviously, felt good going into that one with Jamie Arnold on the mound, but it is tough to come back from blowing a game like that and get on the right foot again. They were able to, just didn't have the energy or the you know enough good plays to finish off the series in that last game. And so props to Oregon State on making it back for the first time in a few years now, but certainly a familiar face there in Omaha.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. Just when Oregon State put up such a crooked number early in that final game, feel like it's obviously you're playing in your last game no matter what for Florida State. So you put it all out there, but it's tough to be down so early by such a big margin, knowing that you're gonna have to put up a lot of runs to be able to even get close to Oregon State. But now switching to maybe one of the most surprising results of the weekend, Arizona taking down number 5 overall seed North Carolina, especially after that first game where North Carolina just absolutely demolished Arizona. Um, Felt like North Carolina, this team was headed on the right direction, had a very, very good path to make it to the College World Series final with a lot of upsets on that side of the bracket. But Arizona just figured out a way to win that second game, and I mean, did the exact same thing with the final game. And yeah, clutch performances to be able to lock down this North Carolina offense after they put up such a big number in that first game. Arizona just showed that they were not scared of this team after that huge loss, and yeah, locked it down and looked super impressive, and maybe is one of my sleepers to win this thing at this point. Under the radar this whole way pretty much, but yeah, got past the toughest test they've had probably this whole season, and they're just gonna look to continue to do that on this side of the bracket, which is definitely winnable.
Yeah, extremely impressive to bounce back from that first game. Like you said, North Carolina just boat raced them in that first one, 18-2. Very tough to bounce back from, especially on the road across the country. And so I thought that after that second game, I still felt very confident North Carolina was going to win the series. We saw it happen in the regional before that, where North Carolina lost one of those final games to Oklahoma, bounced right back and took care of business in the final game. Felt like it wasn't even, in question that they were going to win that regional. Felt like it'd be the same here, but Arizona stayed in the game, pulled it out in the end, and now back in Omaha again. And yeah, they're playing well at the right time. Like you said, definitely a bit of a sleeper pick, but playing really well, and certainly wouldn't be shocked to see them in the final just given how they're playing right now.
Yeah, I think they're definitely a team to be worried about, and they'll be facing Coastal Carolina, who beat Auburn on the road there. Auburn was 4 overall seed, super regional host. Coastal was 13 overall seed. And this Coastal team just continues to win. The pitching does enough to get the job done, winning in extras that first game, and then just completely shutting down the Auburn offense in that second game. And they are on a ridiculous win streak at this point. Just yeah, at this point, tough to see this team lose, but obviously College World Series, it's a whole different beast. But taking down Auburn on the road is extremely impressive. Like we said, this side of the bracket is very, very winnable with the probably two best teams on paper on the other side in LSU and Arkansas. But yeah, Coastal Carolina just continues to prove that they know how to win tight games, and can blow out teams if that's that's just what happens. But yeah, against Auburn, just did everything right to be able to win those games and didn't have to go to that game 3.
Yeah, and Coastal's had one of the best pitching staffs the entire season, if not the best. But it was a question about how they would perform against good competition in the postseason here. But they handled Auburn just fine, able to do just enough in that first game that had a long lightning delay, but able to pull off the win. And then, yeah, kind of just handled game two pretty easily. Really limited that Auburn offense. And so another team once again with the pitching staff performing the way it is, very favorable in Omaha. Kind of feels like Coastal's the favorite at this point on this side of the bracket, just given the way they're playing and the way their team fits there.
Well, speaking about favorites for this side of the bracket, the predictions for this side to make the final. I have a feeling, I just have a gut feeling it's Arizona. I think that, if they take down Coastal in that first game, that sets them up very well. They have a really good bullpen. I feel like pitching is the story of the College World Series if a team can find enough pitching, because yeah, we've seen it throughout this entire postseason. Just so many runs all over the place. But all these like teams on this side of the bracket have had their pitching performances show up when the lights are the brightest. Louisville, a team like we mentioned, struggled for most of the year pitching wise has really settled in the last few weeks. Coastal, one of the best this entire year. Arizona, really good bullpen. Oregon State definitely has looked better than they have for most of the season as well. They've moved some pitchers around from starting to relieving, and it really seems to be working out at this point. So all these teams really good pitching performances overall. But I think, yeah, for some reason, feeling Arizona to come out. Maybe it's just the bias of them taking down North Carolina, who I thought was going to be a finalist, and now they're just replacing that spot there. But yeah, it's a really interesting side because there were so many upsets going on.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go with Coastal here. I just feel like this team really fits playing well in Omaha, just given the pitching staff, and they've continued to dominate here in the postseason as well. Given the win streak as well, there's something with momentum there too. It's just a team that's playing extremely well, playing their best baseball at the right time, and last mid major to win it. Maybe they could be the next one as well and be back to back for the mid majors there. Yeah, I'll just go with Coastal here. That first matchup, Coastal versus Arizona, will be a big one for us.
Yeah, definitely will be at this point, and it's the early one, so a lot riding on that first game of the College World Series. But now headed over to the other side of the bracket, we have UCLA as the first team to talk about. They took down UTSA in UCLA's home regional or super regional. Just looked like the better team the entire way. They haven't really been tested just from an overall talent wise from the opposing teams. I think they match up very well against all their teams in the regionals, as well as UTSA as the 2 seed coming out of Texas. Even though it wasn't really a surprise that Texas didn't make it out. Yeah, we both had UCLA taking down Texas in the next round, anyways, from previous predictions. But I think, yeah, UCLA just looked like a very, very solid squad. Once again, they've just continued to put together really impressive performances. None of the games were really in doubt. They were pretty much in the lead for the entirety of both games. It was close that first game, but UCLA was able to pull away a little bit late with that 5-2 victory, and then 7-0 in that second game, just leaving no doubt in anyone's mind that they deserve to be in the College World Series. And they have a really tough side to get through, but this UCLA squad has proven that they can take down good teams and, yeah, be super consistent defensively, pitching, and get enough offense to win most games.
Yeah, like you said, they haven't played crazy competition in the postseason so far, but the way they're winning is extremely impressive. Just leaving no question about it. Absolutely dominating up to this point, and they certainly are on the tougher side of the bracket here. Everyone's gonna pick Arkansas or LSU to make it out of this one, but it seems like UCLA has a real shot, especially if they're able to stay in the winners bracket as the team playing their best baseball right now, have arguably the best player in the country on their side as well. There's something to be said for that. And yeah, I mean, also have some familiarity with Omaha, having just played there in the Big Ten tournament. Didn't win the tournament, but made the final there. So did have some success. And I think it does help to have some familiarity there. So I'll be curious to see how they perform second time around.
Yeah, the matchup that they have first round should be very interesting. Obviously, talking about Murray State, everybody's favorite Cinderella here. Uh, that offense just does not stop. It feels like everybody just puts together such good at bats, so many line drives. I mean, even that last game, we saw a lot of home runs, which was, I feel like, the first time we saw that from the Murray State offense just consistently. Most of it we've seen previously, just so many singles, doubles, just hitting all over the place. And yeah, they lost that first game to Duke, but turned it around, winning 19-9 in that second, and then squeaking out 4-5 that final game. Super impressive stuff. They had to essentially get 4 outs in the ninth as well with that controversial play. I'm glad that Murray State was able to overcome that and win it, because if that was the case and Duke was somehow able to turn it around and win that game, I think it is just extremely frustrating that they already had a dog pile. They probably released so much like adrenaline emotions from that, and just having to rewind it essentially and go again is extremely difficult as a competitor to settle back into the zone. And yeah, once you thought you already won the game. But yeah, extremely excited that Murray State was able to figure it out and get back to it, and didn't really have any troubles after that. Got the out right away essentially. But yeah, should be very interesting how they match up versus UCLA. On paper, I feel like UCLA very, very happy that this is the matchup, but when you look into it, this Murray State team just knows how to hit. The pitching, very iffy. We haven't seen much consistency, but when you're putting up 15 runs a game, it feels like it doesn't really matter how good your pitching is. You eventually run into outs, and that's what this Murray State squad probably needs against UCLA, which is very, very solid squad. But we'll see. It'll be a matchup of UCLA's pitching versus this Murray State offense that seems like it just never gives up.
Yeah, Murray State is absolutely mashing right now. I would love to see some collective team statistics on how they're batting in the postseason so far. I think it'd be extremely impressive, and I would just love to see what the numbers are there. Feels like they're hitting above 400 as a team. They're just absolutely raking so far. And yeah, I mean, they're certainly the least talented team on this side of the bracket, but they're still extremely talented, especially on the offensive side of things. And I don't think they would be a favorite against any team they're going to match up against here, but I think they're certainly capable of beating all three of these teams on any given day. And so should be exciting. Certainly a capable team, especially with that offense. They can just outscore anyone. And so, yeah, should be interesting and should be a fun first game against UCLA there.
Yeah, I mean, we saw Little Rock give LSU a run for their money, so anything can happen. And obviously, Murray State has a lot more talent and just overall ability than what we saw from that Little Rock squad, even though they were extremely impressive. This Murray State team to make it through super regionals against a very good Duke team that was performing really well is super impressive. But now jumping to LSU, took down West Virginia, put up a lot of runs. Looked like a very solid squad. Pitching was surprisingly not great overall, giving up a decent amount of runs. But when you're putting up 16 and 12 runs in those two games, it doesn't really matter if your pitching is perfect. They got the job done. That's what matters, and didn't have to go to a game three. Looked offensively very good and turning things around from those few struggle games that they had against Little Rock in that regional final. So tightened it up a little bit, and offense really got going there. But they have a very, very, very tough matchup. Maybe, I mean, the most hyped matchup in the first round we've seen for a very long time.
Yeah, this is a team very capable of going all the way and winning this thing, but the pitching is going to have to perform better than they did in this super regional. This LSU team's capable of winning in multiple ways, and they showed that. Able to just outscore West Virginia on the weekend, but especially this game one against Arkansas, the pitching is gonna need to be clicking as well, because it feels like Arkansas right now, probably the hottest team in the country, or just playing the best baseball in the country. And so this first matchup is huge. Seems like, it just feels like the implication here is that the winner is likely going to advance out of this side of the bracket, given these two teams are the favorites here. Both certainly capable of coming back after losing it, but just in such a better position after winning this first game. And so, yeah, should be a fun one.
Yeah, I mean, and LSU has one of the best 1-2 punches for starting pitching, so it should set up pretty well for them if they're at least able to be competitive here. Obviously, if they lose that first game, it's not amazing for them, but definitely have the ability to go through a loser's run and make it back to the at least final round before making the College World Series final. But yeah, it's going to be tough. The first game is a real tell to seeing what LSU shows up. But they'll be facing Arkansas. It's going to be a really tough matchup. Arkansas maybe had the toughest on paper matchup in super regional rounds and looked the better team for the most part, especially that second game where they just absolutely clobbered Tennessee. But I mean, going into that super regional, I feel like Arkansas, you're you're not feeling great because Tennessee, a team, yeah, they're the 14 seed, but for most of the year, they were a top 8 seed, 100%, maybe even higher than that. They did fall off late, but then for that conference tournament, we were able to kind of turn things back around and get into hosting consideration, get that host spot, and be a back end team like that is a tough pull for Arkansas, but able to do it here, winning 4-3 in a more pitcher duel, and then yeah, just dominating that second game there. Very good stuff overall. So Arkansas's got to be maybe at the highest confidence level they've had all season at taking down this Tennessee team in the minimum amount of games to play, and now facing another uh, competent foe and another SEC opponent in LSU. They'll be ready for it, but yeah, really tough one. Obviously, yeah, the biggest matchup of the first round, and it really sets up the rest of the tournament for whichever team wins. But yeah, it should be a great one.
Yeah, this was definitely the most anticipated super regional of the weekend, and Arkansas really just handled business. Even that first game, it was 4-3, but Arkansas just felt like they were in control the whole time. Out hit Tennessee 10-2. Tennessee was not producing anything on the offensive end there, and so Arkansas was, and once again did in the second game, able to get some runs across against Liam Doyle. And so I feel like Arkansas is going to feel very confident heading into this LSU matchup. We just mentioned LSU has maybe the best 1-2 punch in the country on the mound, but Arkansas just performed well against arguably the best pitcher in college baseball this year. And so, going to be feeling good heading into this matchup, knowing they're able to produce runs against that level of pitching. And so, yeah, should be a great matchup here. Feels like Arkansas has a little bit more momentum just given the type of matchup they just won in supers.
Yeah, for sure. And Liam Doyle did just get announced as pitcher of the year, at least by some publications. So yeah, definitely having that in the back pocket where Arkansas did really well against him helps. I mean, I don't think they need to be any more confident than they are. But if they needed that little extra spark and going up against some really tough pitching, they've done it now. At least even in short term, they did it before as well in the regular season, but now they have that memory right at the top of their mind that they can do it against anybody. So yeah, I think it definitely sets them up nicely to be able to run through this side of the bracket. And yeah, did predict them before the tournament that they were gonna win the whole thing. So obviously keeping that prediction of them winning this side of the bracket here, no need to change it. They've looked extremely impressive. Well, everybody else has too, but Arkansas still, I think, the team to beat for me.
Yeah, I'll also pick Arkansas on this side of the bracket. We both had them winning this whole thing. Gonna stand by that here. And so just feels like the best team in college baseball when they're playing their best, and feels like they're playing at their best right now.
Yep, definitely. And similarly, gonna stick that as the same for winning the championship. Arkansas finally getting over the bump there and winning the College World Series. For my prediction, I'm assuming you're gonna go with the same thing since we've been saying it for the past few weeks. But yeah, should be interesting matchup. Whichever teams make it out, but yeah, Arkansas feels like the favorite right now.
Yeah, definitely going to stick with Arkansas here. I will mention, I know I picked Coastal on the other side. I would love to see an Arkansas Oregon State matchup in the finals and have Arkansas win to get over the hump, like you mentioned, and also avenge that 2018 finals loss. We know that one is still stinging for that fan base. And so I think if they're able to win their first title against Oregon State, especially, it would really remedy that. And I feel like you could kind of forget that one finally, at least for a
Yeah, and maybe they win it on a foul ball as well,
bit.
catching one in foul ground. That would really put a bow on everything there. But anything else to mention on your side before wrapping this thing up?
No, nothing for me.
Sweet. Well, it'll be a great week of college baseball, the most exciting week of the year. College World Series is here, and some extremely exciting storylines with a lot of underdogs making it through to the College World Series, and still some of the best teams preseason making it here as well with Arkansas, LSU, Oregon State. Some of the top contenders, but a lot of upsets. It should be extremely exciting if that continues throughout the College World Series. But until then, we will see you next week. Peace.